Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin'. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We recently did a boat tour video. I also did that swimbait video, you know, that basically everything you need to know about swimbait fishing. In those videos, I got a lot of requests to see more of the baits, particularly in the boat tour video. Guys, I know, like to see what's actually in the boxes that are in the locker. So today, I pulled out some of my swimbait boxes. I didn't pull them all out, but I pulled out some of my soft bait boxes. Really just gonna basically give you guys a tour through the boxes, and we're gonna end with this box. You need to wait to see this one. This box is something you probably, but you definitely haven't seen on YouTube, and you probably won't see again. It's baits that have been massacred by bass. We'll get to that one. But I just want to give you a run through of the actual swim baits. We talked all about the swim baits you should be throwing, how to throw them, when to throw them, why to throw them, all those things. But I know that there's this disconnect for people on, you know, what are you actually using? Are you telling me the truth? So we're going to pop the boxes open. We're going to look at what I'm actually throwing. You can see for yourself, you know, what I've purchased over the years, what are in these boxes, so you can get a feel for what you want to throw. So the first box, I grabbed my JSJ box. Actually, that one right there is not a JSJ. That's an old Batesmith 6-inch. That's a discontinued bait. Most of the baits that I've got in here are still currently available baits or public baits. Anything that is, I'll give you a link to down in the video description. Some of them will be customs, I'm sure. It's just the nature of the beast, or baits that have been discontinued. Those we won't have links to, but anything that you can get, I'll link to. But these are all JSJs. JSJ 6-inch hitch. Tons of them. That's a bait that I really like. It's a bait that gets eaten really well. It's a good, we talked about this bait, in fact this one's all chewed on. We talked about this in that last video as a fantastic bait fish profile, slow moving bait. So literally a whole box of these things. Really good choice. Next, we'll keep it simple. HUD box. HUDs. There's a 10-incher in here. My primary color is trout. And here on Clear Lake, which, as I've told you before, is not clear, but here on Clear Lake, there are no trout. That's a misconception. You know, there might be a trout that like comes down one of the creeks during the spring or something, but this is not a trout-stocked lake. If there is a population at all, it is minuscule. These are shad eaters, hitch eaters, basically bait fish eating fish. They eat bluegill, crappie, crawdads. Even so, trout is a deadly, deadly color because it represents just a slow-moving, easy meal. So guys around the country are always asking, you know, should I throw a trout pattern? I don't have trout in my lake, and I don't have trout in my lake either, but you should throw a trout pattern. It's just a broken up color, right? It's not a solid one color bait. It's got a little detail to it, a little bit of green, a little bit of white, a little pink highlight, lots of dots. It just generally looks fishy and broken up. You can see this one's been chewed on. They work. So that's the 10-inch. I mostly throw the 8-inch. These are all 8-inch. I mean, just tons of, oh, there's a different one. That's the 8-inch weedless, and those are very rarely available, but that's a winner if you can get your hands on them. The main bait that I'm going to throw is just that. There's one in the package. Yeah. 8-inch ROF 12. Some version of trout. This one's holdover trout. That's a Shasta trout, holdover trout, regular rainbow. Now this is actually a cool one. This one, for you guys that have been around a long time, you might remember the name Fish Chris, or Chris Wolfgram. And Chris doesn't do a lot of fishing anymore, but when I got started a very long time ago, Chris was a hammer, and he still is a hammer when he feels like fishing, but this one was actually rigged by Chris, which is cool just to keep around. Just history, you know. There's a hitch color. A little more bland, basic color. There's a phantom color, a phantom shad. And then a lot more Shasta trout, holdover trout, holdover trout. Oh, there's a 68 with some ghetto rigged hook on it. But the 68 is a 6-inch body with that 8-inch tail. So you get that wide thump of that 8-inch, but in a smaller profile. Like I said, I generally throw that 8-inch, but that 68 is a good crossover. See, here's a 6-inch. It's actually a 6-inch weedless, but it's the 6-inch. That tail doesn't move very much water. If you're gonna go 6-inch, I typically go with that 68, that bigger tail. And again, guys, the purpose here, there's another 68. I'm running you through the actual baits that I own so that you can have confidence, hey, yes, these are baits that are worth purchasing. Yes, they get bit. And when we get to this box, you're gonna see, yeah, they get bit. But I want you to really see what we're buying and what we own, where we put our own money. We don't get deals on these. I mean, we buy all this stuff. There's a little bit of a unique color. That one came and went. That was just a custom run color. And then it's basically trout after that. 168, a lot of 8-inch. All right, that one got munched. A bird did that. That one's been chewed on. Look at that one. He got devoured. All chewed up. There's piles of them. That's actually an ROF 5. And typically, so in the old days, the ROF 5 only came with a place to attach a bottom stinger. And I did this one with the wire rig, and we've talked about how to do that. In fact, in the video description, we'll give you a link to how to do these yourself. That's attached with heavy, heavy wire so you have no failure. But now you can also get the ROF 5 in a jig hook, which is awesome. With all these baits, I prefer jig hooks. You get a strong hookup. You need the right rod for it or they'll jump off. But once you have the right rod, you are dialed. You hit those fish on a jig hook. As long as you've got power and you grind on them, they're going nowhere. You got them in the roof of the mouth or in the corner. It will not come off. A lot of times with that treble hook, they can shake and throw that thing, use the weight of the bait against it to rip it out. In general, I throw all treble, and that one's been killed. Throw all treble hooks. I'm sorry, the opposite of that. All jig hooks. That is the way to go. There's a look at the HUDs. I'll just mound these back in here. You know, we always see stuff on bait storage, and don't overthink that stuff. I mean, I try not to kink my baits, but if you do, you can boil them and straighten them back out. It's not the end of the world. So I just kind of pile them in these boxes. They'll be all right. If they swim a little funny, they look a little injured anyway, so they'll get eaten. Now these are going to be boot tail baits, and it's just the gamut in here. We've talked a lot about the trash fish. 8-inch trash fish is one that I like throwing. It's a bait you guys need to throw. You know, the new 6.8 and 7.8 Kitex. We had the pleasure of throwing those early, but they're totally available now. We'll give you a link to those. That's rigged on my Swimbait head. That's the 6.8 on a 3/4 ounce Swimbait head. And this one's rigged on an Owner Beast. Those are the two ways that we fish it. 7.8 is a little big for the Swimbait head. That one I throw on the Beast. What else is in here? Oh, this is cool. Check these out. So these are modern mat lures. You know, bluegill, male bluegill. I think he calls it the ultimate gill, but whatever it is, I'll link it. There's this crappies, but check out his advancement over time. So this is like modern era. Here's an oldie. Kind of see the differences. You lose some fin detail, lose some tail detail. It's a little bit more rigid. Check this out. You want to go back in history. We go from there back to here. This is one of Matt's first. I'm sure he would not love to have this floating around YouTube because it's, you know, it's nothing compared to his current work. But that was Matt's original bluegill. Check out the difference. Isn't that incredible? And these original baits, I'm sure he's embarrassed by them, but he shouldn't be. I mean, they were, in their time, amazing baits. In fact, I've got a destroyed one of these in that box I'll pull out here in a minute. But his bait has come so far. Such a good bluegill imitator. Just awesome. Some Ragos. That one's still widely available. That one catches fish. Tim, in both the jig hook and the treble hook version, Tim has crushed it on this bait with me. And I admit, he's done far better on this particular bait than I have. I mean, he's massacred him fishing right behind me. A couple of bigger Ragos, boot tails. Used to night fish with those a lot. That's a cool bait. I think that's an Imakatsu bait. That pop-out hook. That's a cool little bait. And again, I'll give you links to all this stuff. This one I talked about in that Swimbait video quite a bit. I might have other colors of it in here. Maybe I don't. Yeah, there's one right in my hand. Those are the two colors I throw in the most. This one, the harness getting pulled out, a fish did that to me. I mean, he tore that bait up. But that's a good bait. That one gets munched. Really slow, methodical action on that one. You can rip it and pop it and get aggressive action. It's a Megabass Mag Draft. When you want to cover water, we did a video, I think last year, on going to a new lake and throwing a giant bait, be that a giant soft bait or a giant hard bait, to locate fish quickly. If you haven't seen that, you need to see that video. I guess we'll give you a link to that one in the video description too. But it's a method of finding literally the largest fish in any lake right away. You won't catch them right away most of the time, but you will see them. You'll know exactly where they live. This is a great bait for doing that. There's the treble hook version of that bait I was talking about, the one that Tim is always smashing on. Let's see, Matt Lures, another one. There's some more of those in here, I think. Yeah, another one. Here's his little catfish profile. I have straight crushed him on that little kitty. That's a killer one. And then of course we talk osprey all the time. The 7-inch, and then here it is compared to the 6-inch for a size reference. This bait, that's light hitch, is that color. Nationwide, that's just a deadly bait. That 6-inch top hook osprey is a killer. This is a 7-inch Bass Tricks. For size reference, 7-inch Bass Tricks, 7.8 Kitech. Pretty similar. That guy, I didn't love that bait, but he's in the box. I think it's just too much hook, and I think it's in the wrong place. But action-wise, this bait is fantastic. Great action. The smaller size trash fish, and then another osprey. So, and that one has been eaten. Look at all those teeth marks coming down, and then you can see where one caught behind this thing and just ripped it open. When we're talking about these baits, guys, I don't want to show you brand new baits. I don't want to show you. That's the problem when you watch a lot of online stuff. You get all these opinions, but you're looking at brand new shiny baits in the package and you're wondering, do I take this guy's advice? You know, is he really catching fish on these baits? That's why I want you to see what's in the boxes, what we're really fishing with. So you can get a feel for, yes, these are baits that these guys are getting bit. Yes, they're telling me I do this in a lake with no trout, or this one works in a lake where there are trout. You know, what colors should you buy? You can see literally what colors we're buying so that you can confidently go out to your body of water and replicate that to catch fish. We've been doing all soft baits, but my waiver box is already in the boat, so I grabbed it too, although it's not just waivers apparently. There's that guy. What is not a waiver? So this is a big bullshed. I burn the snot out of that bait. I fish it fast, aggressive. I talked about that in that last video. Just burn, stop, burn, stop, burn, stop. I kill that one. There's the Gancraft, which is about as close to an S-Waiver as you're gonna get, but you get some very different color schemes. Really beautiful colors out of Gancraft. The Waiver is just a less expensive bait. That's that bullshed wake bait. That's a killer. The rest of this is S-Waiver, so just about every color you can imagine is in here. There's that one, there's bone. Some of them don't even have hooks on them, they've been thrashed. This one I waited to sink fast, but typically I fish them straight out of the package. There's a bluegill that has just been devoured. That one's been eaten up. Couple custom colors. Hitch. Can't get them apart. Couple hitch. A lot of light trout. That's the one we're always talking about. There's a light trout that's just been demolished. Another light trout. A couple more customs. Original phantom trout. And then here's the 200, roughly the 8-inch. So there they are, size comparison. This is the 168, that's the 200. You can see that 200's been killed too. It's got a little rust on it. I must have taken the rusty hooks off it. But that guy's, he's done work. Well, we got, so that's a rainbow trout next to light trout, next to the warden or hitch. That's Tim's color, the warden, game warden, Tim. Let's see, another rainbow. Bright purple, my buddy made that one for me. I'll tell you what, that one gets bit. And then here's a couple of my striper baits down here. You guys want a tip? If you're a striper guy, check this out. There's bone, and that's powder. The tails on these baits, whatever that material is, if you dunk that sucker in chartreuse dip and dye, man, that was dunked in dip and dye like 5 years ago. Maybe longer than that. Maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, they hold color. You dip these suckers chartreuse tail, and these weren't clear tails to start with. It was this color. So that one there dipped that color. And I'm saying for striper because that's what I used it for, but bass too. If you're on a lake where you do a lot of chartreuse, that chartreuse tail flat gets it done. It doesn't bleed to my other baits. It truly absorbs it and holds it. Doesn't bleed at all onto the other baits. So that's a good tip for you. You want to do that. I'm not even going to try and get all those back in that box. We'll just jump to the last one. This is the box you need to see anyway. When we're telling you that you should be throwing these baits because they work, we're not pulling brand new baits out of the package and telling you that they work. I want you guys to see baits that flat got it done. This is what you don't see a lot of on YouTube. We were very blessed to get into the swimbait game early, to be doing this for a long time. And had the pleasure of catching a lot of big fish on a lot of big baits. So these are some baits that I've retired. I just keep this customer thrashed soft baits. Thrashed soft baits. That's just a mangled 8-inch Hud. I mean, I don't know if you can see how many teeth marks are in that Batesmith Magnum. A lot. That guy got demolished. Obviously that guy got demolished. I got, this is different, this is an unrelated harness. But this is essentially what happened. A fish ripped the harness clean out of the bait. This one, a spotted bass did this to me. I was fishing this with a stinger hook on it, and a spotted bass came up from below, got a hold of that bait, latched onto it so hard, somehow didn't get a hook, and when I smashed back on that fish, he literally peeled the skin off of the bait and I reeled up a bare harness. Not kidding. There's so much history in here. Just demolished baits. And when we're telling you how we rig baits, like I'm telling you I use that jig hook or we use wire, we didn't always do that. You know, we tried everything under the sun. That's how we came up with those ideas. It's not just guesswork. We're not just repeating what somebody else told us. We went out and experimented to come up with these methods. There's a JSJ that just went through the woodwork. This one right here, this specific bait, caught so many fish for clients that I finally had to cut the jig hook off it because it over and over again, it got dull and I would sharpen it and it started getting bent, and you really can't bend them back. They lose the strength. So I ended up eventually cutting the jig hook off, going to a treble hook. I wore out a treble hook. That one did work. Another Hud that just, I mean, no words, right? And I'm getting to my favorite one down here. There's a couple of Batesmiths. This I think is still a current, I think it's called Smith Baits now, but I think that's still a current bait. If it is, I'll have a link to that. Look at this Magnum. No, it's just not right. This bait, I mean, if I sat here and counted, this bait probably got bit 75 or 100 times. Like, split the head open, I super glued it back on. Here's a mat lures. That's a pretty early mat lures. It's just mangled, just coming apart. Heads poking through. I didn't know what I was doing in the old days. I ran a 7-strand crimp leader through that one and put this great big, like, live bait type hook on the back of this. I didn't know what I was doing. It actually looks pretty good, honestly. We tried everything back in the day. Couple more HUDs. There's one where the harness, fish latched onto the back, peeled that harness back. That one got mangled. Another one, that's that holdover trout. And then this is probably the one I'm most proud of, because a lot of these, as silly as this sounds to say, as many bites as those baits have, I don't even remember a lot of them. You know, it's just fish over the years. This one I remember, and that's because this was called a Fillmore 2 was this color. And when they came out, I walked into the shop that had them. I got in there and they had a lot of them left. I literally bought every single one they had. And I didn't have a lot of money back then. I mean, I spent everything I had because I believed in this color. I had something like 40 of them. And I fished my way through them. I mean, caught fish on every single one of them until it was demolished. And this was my last one. If memory serves me right, I caught 6 double digits on this one bait and a lot of other fish. But if you can just see the amount of demolition, the amount of destruction on that bait. I know it's hard to see. I mean, you can see the obvious ones. I don't know if you can see the in-betweens where it's just shredded paint, but just, this bait did work for me and I did not want to retire it. And I remember I retired it, I put it away, and then I'm like, man, I wasn't getting bit. I was throwing new ones. I was throwing just plain rainbow. This is at Lake Berryessa, which is a lake near here. I was throwing plain rainbow and they just weren't eating it. And I was like, man, I know my fish are still there. And I went and I unretired that last Fillmore 2. And I went out and I stuck one more double on it. The last fish on it was a 10.8. And then I was like, okay, it's done. That one goes in the bottom of the box. It's over. She made it through. She got to retirement. But guys, this stuff, these baits, these mangled baits, these are how we came to give you guys advice. It's not guesswork. It's not just buying baits online and turning around the next day and talking to you about them. We've been doing this a long time, chasing those big fish, and we are happy to share that knowledge with you so you guys can do the same. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different. It's just kind of a tour video, really, but these are the baits that we throw. You can see why we throw them. You can do this. I'm telling you, it's not hard. If you watch that, everything you need to know about swim baits, I mean, I went down the line, how to do it and why to do it. There's no secrets, man. You can do this. You can have this happen to an 8-inch bait. I don't care where you live in the country. You can have this happen to your bait. Some of these were 2-pounders. These weren't all 10-pounders. Some of these were 1 and 2 pound smallmouth and 1 and 2 pound spotted bass. Don't think that it's just 10-pound largemouth that are going to take a shot at these baits. You'd be amazed how small of a smallmouth will come up and wolf a 9.5-inch or an 8-inch or a 10-inch bait. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching along. I'm going to try and put all this stuff away. We'll give you links, like I said, to everything down in the video description. Share this video with your friends. You know, I know around the country it's hard for guys to believe that this stuff will work for you. It will work for you. Share it with your friends. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you have questions about any of it, drop a comment. We'll do our best to get back to everybody. We can't always respond to all of them, but we see all of them and we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Have a good day.